Chronicle number 1. I felt like, okay, I have to start, obviously, at the beginning. And I'm not going to go way back to the very beginning, but how does somebody end up in the adult industry, right? And I'm not going to say this is the only path. There are so many different paths, and I discovered that once I entered into the adult industry, that not everybody was there because they were forced into it, right? Many people actually chose to be there, which at the time was shocking to me, because we often have this view that that nobody else can see the world, you know, different than us, right? Like, how could they enjoy this job? And there was lots of people that chose to do it because maybe it supported their drug habit, or they ended up, all different reasons. For me, my personal journey into the adult industry had begun due to, well, I essentially really just checked every one of the boxes. Like, if you were going to get hired for a job and how you're filling out an application and you're like, you know, yep, she fits here and here. Well, let's see. Single mom, you know, got nobody, sexual abuse in her past. So doesn't really, you know, kind of has attached her worth to her sexuality, and desperate. Very, very desperate. That would be me. So I was the perfect candidate for this job. And so I was, at the time, let me just kind of give you a little framework of where I'm at. I was, you know, I'd had a child at 17, and I'd kind of been just floundering around. I was with the dad, who was very abusive. I finally had sort of escaped that situation, but I had to go into hiding and landed in a living with my brother, who was a drug addict at the time. And so I was essentially in a drug house. You know, everybody, it was a very unsafe environment, definitely not a place conducive to raising a baby. And I was just looking for any way out. I mean, praying and praying. I was trying to put myself through college at the time. I was working in a boot store. Just, you know, you couldn't survive on it. There was no way. And I definitely couldn't pay for childcare. The boot store was kind enough to allow me to bring my baby and work at the same time. So the baby would sit behind the register. I just have him in a little rocker. But eventually he was getting too old for that. And, you know, you couldn't kind of just sit him in this little seat and go out and work. So I was needing something different, and I tried so many different jobs. I had applied everywhere, but back then, a waitressing job, which was really the only way I was going to make it because it allowed for tips, wouldn't be something that was available to me because I wasn't 21. So I'd be competing with 21-year-olds, and they would always win. So it was just, I just kept feeling like no matter which way I went, I hit a brick wall. There was just no forward movement, and I felt devastated. Like, how am I going to do this? And then insert this person who was going to rescue me, I guess. And he comes in, and of course I meet him in the drug house, so this would not be a very qualified person to be, you know, giving you a safety net. But he walks in and he says, "Oh, what are you doing?" And at the time I was looking through some want ads, and I'm like, I'm searching for a job. He goes, "I've got a job for you." And I was like, "What, you do?" And he goes, "Yeah, I have a job as a waitress. I know the manager at this place. I can totally get you a job there." And I almost fell down backwards. I'm just, oh my God, yes, please. You know, it was the best news ever. It was like all your prayers being answered at once, right? And yes, I'll do anything. What can I do? And he said, "Nothing, just show up. Tomorrow I'll come and get you. I'll take you. I'll introduce you, the whole thing." And I'm sitting there going, I can't believe this guy's going to do this for me. This is so wonderful. And I allowed myself to have hope. And back then, that wasn't something I let myself have very often, because it always let me down, right? I was very much in this limited view of the world. I'd experienced a lot of suffering at that point and had a really dark lens on the world. And so my expectations were really, really low that anybody would ever do anything for me and help me. But somehow in this moment, I remember having hope, believing. And so I got dressed up, and the next day I'm so excited, like this is gonna happen. And he shows up, and so I'm like, this is happening. And I get in the car with him, and I'm not saying anything, and I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, I can't believe this, you know, I'm gonna get a job. And then we drive up to this building, and the building has a sign, and it says, I think it's like 50 beautiful girls and 3 ugly ones, or hundreds of beautiful girls and 3, I can't remember now. But, you know, it was very apparent, the establishment I was at. And it was like soul crushing. It was like, you're so stupid, Debbie. You're so stupid. How did you fall for this? See, and I just felt like I didn't even want him to know how crushed I was, because I just felt silly. Like, and again, I'm just a teenager at the time. And so I don't say anything, and I just follow him in, and I'm pissed at myself for allowing myself to believe in this person. And we walk in, and of course this manager, of course he does know him, you know, happy to come over and talk to me, but they're not talking to me about a waitressing job. They're talking to me about an adult entertainer job. And they've got, and this is my jaws dropping, I'm looking around like, I cannot believe this, like there's girls with their clothes, what is happening? And again, I had been being primed for this my whole life. You know, I'd had so many people saying, oh my gosh, you know, you should be in magazines, you should be this, you should be that. I'd been so sexualized, and a lot of my worth had been placed on my sexuality, and my self-esteem was extremely low. And so I'm sitting there, and I don't have a voice. I guess my voice was taken, because I'm watching all that. I can't even believe where I am. And they've got girls coming up to me going, oh yeah, you'll make so much money. I remember, you know, my first week, and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm taking it all in, and the guy's saying, I'll do everything for you. You know, we'll hold your hand through the whole process. All you have to do is show up here at this time on Monday, and I'll take you and get you your license, and we'll pay for this, and we'll do this, and, you know, we really want to help you. And I leave there that day, and I don't say anything. And I go home, and I see my baby, and he's asleep on the floor in this horrendous place. And I'm like looking at him going, do I have a choice? I mean, what kind of mother would not take this opportunity? You know, if I can sacrifice myself for him to get us out of here and to do something, shouldn't I do that? It's like, this is a hand coming down, and all I need to do is just do it, just get through it. And so, and it hadn't been the first time that had been my motto, right, around these sort of things. Just get through it, Debbie, you know, and just on the other side, everything will be okay. And so that's what I did. And I showed up, and sure enough, you know, they did all of the things they said. They held my hand all the way through, because you know what? Then you show up and you owe them money. So now you owe them. So I was basically chained to this job. And then it's almost like this funnel to trap you, you know, it's a way to get you in. Once you're in, then the next move is, this was just a baby club. It's like where they check you out. You know, you have to pay. Most people don't know this, but as a dancer, you have to pay. And so every night you're paying. So the tally, right, like you owe them more and more if you can't make enough to pay them back. And so that's how they kind of weave out the girls that aren't going to make it and the girls that do. If you're able to make enough to pay them back, and then they send you on to the next club, and you're making more money and the more money. And so that's how I got sort of looped into this. And yeah, so if you're wondering how it is, and again, not everybody has the same story. Everybody's story is different, and I can only speak from my perspective. But this is my journey into the adult industry and the ending of Chronicle 1.